Alright gamers, we're back with the suggestions box series. This is where you guys leave suggestions for what you would like to see in the game of Overwatch, whether that's perks related or base game changes, stadium changes, or any sort of macro changes that the game can do. A lot of these are going to be perk related because I think that's last time I asked for some new and cool ideas to replace some of the old ones, so I think the majority of them will be that, but let's see what else you guys have in store. If I don't choose your prompt this week, it's because we have a ginormous pool of like 100 plus suggestions, and I'm just hitting random and just going through them slowly as the weeks progress. So here we go. First suggestion is Heal Dar. Right now, when you take damage, you get a damage direction indicator. I would like a Heal Dar indicator as well, so I know what direction my Ana or BAP are healing me from. I feel like this might be a little bit more cluttery. Does it really matter where the stuff comes from? I think right now you get directional feedback from audio, but the majority of the time your heals are probably coming behind you, and I feel like this isn't that useful. Now that being said, having it as a toggleable option for you to turn on and off is never a bad thing in my opinion. So like maybe, but this is definitely a low priority for me. I think knowing where the damage is coming from immediately from the enemy is good because you need to go into cover. But if you're already being healed by a teammate, then like there's nothing that you need to do in response to that. So that's why I feel like that indication is more bloat from my perspective. But yeah. Next, Stadium Draft. So now that we can take the same character as the opponent, the draft only favors the team that can pick the tank as the 6th choice, or I guess 5th choice, right? Therefore, the draft shouldn't be here anymore. I think we should actually just permanently make the tank the bottom one. Right now, like you're randomly ordered, right? When you queue into Stadium, why not make it a fixed order every time? Maybe like double, 1 support, 1 DPS, 1 support, 1 DPS, and then into the tanks at the end. Thoughts on that? I think that's a better choice. I actually don't mind draft itself, to be honest with you, seeing what the enemy team is picking, but I would like to just have it more of a fixed order in terms of roles, and then randomly, like either your tank or their tank will pick last, and that'll, you know, over the course of many games, hopefully that'll even out and be 50-50 for both sides, but that's my idea if we're gonna keep the draft. Suggestion, bracket, I do not play Brig, but what if her whip shot could knock enemies towards the Brig on the return? So kind of like a hook. So right now it's a boop away as she flings it out, and the return animation is just visual, but it'd be cool if you could actually utilize it to pull someone closer. It makes me think if there are any other recovery animations that could actually be given functionality. So I feel like this, if you're gonna pull them forward, not a stun like Roadhogs, but kind of a minor displacement. But then you kind of, if you're gonna boop them back, like you boop one target back, but as it's returning, anybody who crosses its line of sight kind of gets tugged in slightly. I feel like that wouldn't be a bad idea on a different hero though, and like kind of built differently, not from a I think having an ability function as one purpose, and this one, actually this is multi-purpose. First, create space, knock enemies back, and it triggers your passive. Like that is already many good things on it. Now if we're adding more displacement on the reel back, means you'd have to like compensate it by giving it a much longer cooldown, and I think that may disrupt kind of the flow of Brig in the sense where if you lower the if you increase the cooldown, then you no longer trigger the passive as much. So you have to kind of make sure you're always trying to boop somebody or pulling somebody slightly in displacement to get better value, and I actually think that would be worse if you're not able to proc your Inspire as often. So I don't know, I think this was just extra complication that isn't needed on the hero. I think Brig is pretty cool the way she is, but the idea of like a 2-part recovery, and you're onto something there, like a recovery, like a 2-parter thing could be extended for more functionality. I was gonna say 2-parter again, but like I just end up repeating myself. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to get at. Not for Brig, not for, I don't think she needs that, but maybe onto something there. Suggestion, KarQ, the GOAT, hi, should make a new best Overwatch 2 settings because the last one was a long time ago and there's been a lot of new heroes, new settings, and some of the other ones have been removed. You're right, the last settings video was made like December 2022. It's been like almost 3 years, right? And there have been a lot of quality of life things. I will go over the settings again, probably closer to early next year, 2026, when the new season 20 begins. I'm kind of down for that. Suggestions box here. Both of Zen's major perks are pretty awful. One of them should allow him to attack during Transcendence. He's invulnerable and he's moving really fast. If he's allowed to just flank and just go kill somebody right in the back, I don't know about attacking into it. That seems a little insane. But I think using the one from Stadium where maybe he gets a little bit of a lunge on a charged kick might be kind of cool. Get a little bit of movement, but like, you know, it comes at a risk. You know, he's already super immobile. You kind of null his weakness a little bit because obviously Zen is very powerful support, like offensively, and his weakness is mobility. But then you already have the one where he's able to float a little bit. If you can use like another major perk where the kick gives him motion, because you do have that in Stadium as an item, I think that's pretty comparable in terms of power level. Like right now, Zen is actually performing pretty well across all ranks. He's like 51-52% win rate, so he's not bad by any means. The one we should be looking at more so, the ones we should be looking at is Lifeweaver. He's not been doing well this season at all. Hey KarQ and team, suggestion. Please count overhealth generated for teammates as healing. For instance, I play an ability Power Juno with my first power as Hyper Healer, which gives overhealth based on ability power. So I crank ability power and use the overhealth to prevent fire damage, counter healing, debuffs, etc. It's OP and my win rate is great. I'm only climbing, but I don't get effing cash from it. I'm winning fights constantly and I'm getting nothing for it. Same with my Orisa with the Ride With Me and Junker Queen with the Booming Voice item. Please tell Blizzard to factor it in so I can earn cash from these shout type abilities. So that is something I didn't think about. It is a one-way street here, because if you as a character damage somebody's green overhealth, you are generating cash. That's right. But if you give a teammate a green overhealth, you're not healing them, so you're not getting any cash from the support perspective. That's quite interesting. I think right now, the only thing I can say for Stadium is they adjust the other variable, the other knob, which is called cash coefficient. You'll notice heroes like Ana doesn't have to heal very much to make a lot of money, because the coefficient, or there's a multiplier, like a variable, the coefficient, where the damage and the healing is multiplied by a lot more for Ana, because she's harder to generate, you know, those raw numbers with to generate cash. So you can get like 2,000 damage, 2,000 healing on Ana, and make the same amount of money as a Moira with 4,000 damage, 6,000 healing. I don't know what the true coefficient is, but that's the case. So right now, Juno is tuned correctly, I would think, in Stadium to kind of match the fact that she does not get overhealth from it. But that being said, I think if you do that, it might feel better from like a player perspective to be like, oh yeah, I'm generating money by giving my team overhealth. But then they would probably nerf the cash coefficient in response to it. Your stats may look crazy. You might get like 4,000 damage and like 12,000 healing as Juno, because every time you put the hyper ring down, everyone's getting healed from the overhealth. But yeah, you're not gonna make as much thanks to that coefficient. But that being said, I don't think generating overhealth gives any sort of healing, even in the base game, even for Queen or any other hero. So they'd have to change like some more internal things. So with that being said, it might be just overly complicated in the sense that we just mess around with the coefficient and call it a day kind of thing. Next suggestion, Rein's Crushing Victory perk, which is overhealth on charge damage, should also increase the steering capability for charge, similar to April Fool's but without the infinite duration. It would further encourage a charge heavy playstyle instead of just occasionally cheesing the enemy tank off the map for a burst of overhealth. Ooh, I actually do think giving Rein more turn agency on it and steering capability is kind of good. Again, without the infinite duration. I actually think that's a cool adjustment to his charge, actually. That is one of the better suggestions I've seen. I like that. We should add that in. I'm down for it. Forget the overhealth, more steering. I'm in. Suggestion, give Widow an audio cue on her reload. I'm pretty sure she does. The only problem is you don't really hear her doing it, because if you are close enough to hear the reload, you can probably hear her giant footsteps or hear her like aim down sights. But yeah, maybe make it not very affected by distance, but subtle enough to not be super annoying. A distinct short click sound for people paying attention. It would add a chance for people to swing or corners if you listen closely. I feel like this is kind of I mean, you could increase the audio levels of her a little bit more, but like I already think she's pretty loud. If you're already that close to her, you should be able to hear her, regardless of the reload or not. She'll probably fire a shot before she ever presses the reload that you know she's there. And I feel like the distance to hear the reload is pretty close. You do have to be like within 10 meters, and that is within striking distance. And if you've already closed the gap that close, like that's not going to change much. If anything, if you want to nerf her in terms of like, you know, not touching her numbers, I think the biggest thing is like a scope glint. I mean, I play like Deadlock a lot, so I hear Vindicta like meow, or like a shine on her gun when she's aiming down. Something like that might be a better idea, more so than just increasing the audio cue on her reload. That doesn't change anything. For the Stadium switch shoulder button, if you hold down the button, you go into first person. I know a lot of games that do that, and I think it would make switching perspectives mid-game easier. So that was actually brought up many, many times when Stadium first came out, and they said, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this, that they've thought about it, but I think implementation is a lot harder than it looks, was the first reason. And the second is that it ends up being very powerful in the sense that you could peek and then switch to first and then peek, and it kind of like would glitch out and would be a little bit disorienting. But yeah, definitely don't quote me on this. I'm trying to like recall it, and I feel like I'm just making shit up now. But in any case, that's something they've thought of. I think it's a good idea personally, but all I recall now is that there's definitely some limitations on it. If anybody can remember the quote from a dev comment at some point, let me know. But yeah, this is not a first time they've heard this idea. Okay, Symmetra minor perk. Instead of extra sentry, if your beam is fully charged, you can quick fire a full charged orb at the cost of 1 beam level of the charge. Ooh, I've actually never heard. Oh, I actually like it. It comes at a cost. You know, you lose a charge, but you get a full charge orb. Yeah. Like you're beaming somebody down, they break, they get out of range slightly, and then you're like, fuck it, I want to fire an orb, but I want to quick fire it, but I'm gonna lose my. You're probably gonna lose your beam anyways because they went out of range of you, but then you can just, you know, tag them at the last second with a range shot, and then bam, kill them. I like that. Okay, new character idea. A chef or a baker. Ooh, in the lore. I don't think we've seen Overwatch have a chef/baker type character. We could sure use someone who not only cooks, but also fights as well. Like the power to manipulate food in battle, bringing cuisines to life into something humanoids, even turning toppings into projectiles. Oh. Will it fit the lore? If they can write a character in like that, sure, but I feel like this would also fit better as like a skin or something, you know? For a character that already exists, you can replace their projectiles with like pizza toppings, like throwing pepperonis, and then they're like a chef. I think this one's a little bit too out of the fantasy of Overwatch as like a hero in the lore, but works as a skin, if you get my drift. Suggestions box. I want to be able to customize my profile. Agreed. I've only played 6v6 in Stadium this season, so if you glance at my profile, it looks like I don't play ranked at all. Agreed. I want to be able to display the ones that I play more of, sure. I wish I could highlight 3 stats that we're proud of and like to put our preferred heroes as well. True. Like maybe as like a default like landing page, but obviously if you dig into the profile, you can see everything else that you would normally see. Bonus suggestion, let me queue for multiple modes at the same time. Yeah, this one's been brought up a lot. Agreed. I like all 3 of these suggestions. I think that's it for this episode here. I don't want to drag this one on for too long, but leave some more, excuse me, in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.